All right, this is something new. We're trying the Bluetooth connection because we got Corey president. Corey, you're running late.
Yeah, sorry guys.
We're gonna put you on the spot here. We're gonna try and do a Bluetooth. Corey's on the road coming in here. We got Hunter Meekum with us, Cody Webster. We're over here at the Utah Houndsmen Association banquet, and we had a few minutes, and we wanted to run a podcast. So before we do that, tell me a little bit about the Utah Houndsmen.
You bet. So the point of the Houndsmen Association, just like all Houndsmen Associations, it's to keep a strong community built and to raise funds to protect the sport and to promote and protect ethical game management of cougars and bears, bobcats.
Yeah.
We've been around for quite a few years. It's changed names a couple times with the same goal in mind.
Yeah, last time I came down here, you guys were in Nephi? Is that how you say it?
Yep.
We had it in Nephi for several years. We kind of grew out of that building and have bounced around a couple other areas further north trying to find a good fit, and Richfield is where we ended up last year, and it's a great facility and holds a lot more people, and it's a pretty nice place.
I was driving from Salt Lake today. I didn't realize how big them damn interstates out of Salt Lake is. It's like California, at least to me, it's like California. There's like 6 lanes wide, and we took the wrong turn. And man, I was impressed with what the freeway infrastructure is. I guess probably because you got 15 and you got a bunch of different interstates coming together right there, right? What's the history in Salt Lake? Is it just like a lot of truck traffic and stuff?
Well, those 6 lanes aren't near enough at 5 o'clock when all the people are heading home from work.
Really? I was surprised. I was like, "Oh yeah, we just get in Salt Lake and we'll just shoot down here." So, so it seems like it's a bigger event than it was whenever I was up there in Nephi, right? I mean,
correct.
How big you guys think you got from there to then? That must have been what, maybe 6, 7.
It seems like we were around 250, 300 back when we were doing it at Nephi, and I bet we're double that now.
What do you think that? Why do you think that is?
I think I don't know if it's social media. It kind of blew the sport up, brought it more into the public eye, and how social media pulsar, it makes everything look fun, and it drew a lot of people into the sport, and they were able to connect and make friends a lot easier than you used to be able to. The sport's a lot easier to get into now than it was pre-social media.
Are you guys seeing some younger guys getting in it here and helping out?
Yeah, and before it seemed like for a younger guy to get in, he'd have to get mentored by an older houndsman if he find one and was willing to put up with him. And now with social media, that these younger guys can connect and hunt with each other and figure it out a lot quicker and have a lot of fun. So yeah, we are seeing a lot more younger guys get into the sport.
Yeah, I do. I'd agree with that. So one of the topics I wanted to talk to you guys on was, and I noticed this on social media, I noticed on your Facebook page, you guys have an issue, a bill. Is it a legislative bill that you guys are?
Yes.
You're kind of, I would say you're fighting right now, right? You're trying to stop?
Correct. Yep.
Explain that bill to me. So, because I've seen it on Facebook, and I see that you guys are, as I understand it, you're trying to stop it at the governor's desk right now, right?
Yeah.
Has it passed both House and Senate?
Senate, yep. House Bill 469.
Okay. So what does House Bill 469 do?
It takes the management out of the division's hands, basically. So before you had to buy a mountain lion permit or draw one, depending on where you're going to hunt. And there's strict guidelines on how you can hunt them and when you can hunt them. This bill makes it so you still need a fishing license. And the reason why they did that, instead of just call them unprotected like a coyote, the only difference is the wool growers will still get paid if there's a suspected lion kill. So it's ag guys, a couple bigger sportsman groups that are kind of promoting this. And this way they get their cake and they eat it too. They can wipe out the lions. And, and a lot of the talk on the media is year-round lion season. That's hardly the issue. We have a lot of year-round lion seasons and or year-round units now, and the big difference is they're going to be able to trap them, and we haven't been able to do that in decades in Utah. And trapping is indiscriminate on kittens and females with kittens, and I'm a firm supporter of trapping. I trap myself, but trapping lions, I just don't think there's a place for it in Utah. It brings out too much bad light on the trapping community, and it's going to cause problems between trappers and houndsmen.
Do you guys have a trappers association?
Yeah, we do, and the Trappers Association, they don't stand behind it. They're
really?
So, they're with us.
The trappers are not for it. Who is for the bill? You said a couple.
The Wool Growers Association, like your livestock people, and then some of your bigger sportsman groups in Utah are kind of behind it as well.
Yeah, you think the I don't want to say like. I don't want to point fingers or whatever, but like the mule deer, the sheep.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, our mule deer numbers are down in Utah. We've had some bad drought and some tough winters, but yeah, they're just thinking that by putting this in place that they're gonna save a bunch of deer.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Most of those guys are like allies, right? I mean, at least. I don't know. It seems like you guys are in kind of like a backwards fight.
Guys that are our allies for hound hunting.
Yeah. Most of the time, in most states, those are allies. It's kind of odd that you guys are. It's like you're in a backwards fight. It seems like.
As far as keeping the sport legal, you bet they are. But, we don't see eye to eye on cougar numbers, obviously, but Utah is a good public system. I mean, I know it's not perfect, but it is a good system where you have a chance to be heard, and the Division of Wildlife forms committees and working groups, and they include us on them. And it's a good process. It's a lot better than having two legislators be able to slip in a bill at the last minute for their buddies.
How did that bill pass? What were the numbers on it?
Well, I didn't watch the House, but it passed the Senate first, and that was 22-6.
Oh, really?
With literally no discussion. Well, I mean, the biggest cougar change law we've had in 56 years, and there was not an ounce of discussion on it.
And Corey didn't mention it, but originally the bill was like $1 million granted to the DWR to buy more property to benefit wildlife. So they picked a certain bill to slip this in on, so that it was hard for So
it was like an amendment that they added this on. Okay.
The origination of the bill was great, and most everybody wouldn't have any reason to oppose it, and so I think that's why they knew they could slip some of these things in, because it was so in favor of the origination of the bill.
Yeah.
Okay. Corey, what were you saying?
Deep into this bill, and there's nothing that makes sense about it. The $1 million, I mean, what does $1 million a year buy you in land? Maybe 10 acres. The point of this bill is when the state releases land, these big sportsman groups that are pushing this bill through will have first crack at the purchase, and they'll get $1 million from the division, from the state, for the purchase. So it essentially gives them, it takes any competition away from a bid.
Right.
I mean, it is shady politics all the way around. The CWMU portion of the bill, it doesn't make any sense either. We're losing deer as we speak, and they want to increase the buck to doe ratio.
Same with the trail camera deal. It's really as corrupt as the lion part of it.
What's the trail camera part of it?
So last year in Utah, they banned. Well, we were put into a trail camera season, and from what is it, Cody?
August 1st to December 31st.
Yeah,
they weren't allowed for the aid in taking big game.
So when you say you ban trail cameras, you cannot run a trail camera while you're hunting.
Yes.
So you can't use them for deer, elk. So if
you can't use them for the aid of hunting. Yeah.
Okay. Do you know about other states? I'm too lazy to run a trail camera. I never go out and check them. I'm like, I always have the idea that I want to, but I set them and then I forget about them. So I've never really done
They've done a similar thing in Arizona too. Colorado's pretty much wide open for trail cameras. That's really all I've dealt with. I don't know about New Mexico.
Even when that went through, it started, the main talk that went around was the transmitting the cell cameras. Mm-hmm. And then kind of a same deal last minute they started.
I've thought of that, like the cell camera stuff where they sit there and they get a text message and it's like, oh.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's kind of what went around the public process was the transmitting cameras. And then later on, once the public process more or less was over, then they decided to throw just everything. All cameras.
Right. Yeah, just probably for in some of its simplicity, you know what I mean? Like it's like, okay, well, it's not cellular, now it's Wi-Fi or Starlink, you know what I mean? Like if you just nailed it down to the word cellular, then somebody could go get a Starlink camera or something and do some, everybody's always looking to game the system. So
Sure.
We still have you on the phone? Okay.
Yeah, sorry, it was a little quiet. I missed a little bit, but I can add a bit to that camera. The upsetting part about that isn't really losing cameras. Everyone has their opinions on them. It's just the process. They went through the public process through 2 years of committees, surveys, wildlife. Well, the wildlife board did take it a step further than what the public was asking for. But how this one was slipped through, it benefits the same guys that benefits on changing the CWMU laws. It's a couple
Big name guys.
Big influential guys that have a lot of property and a lot of power, and they're slipping in their personal agenda and using the legislators to do it. And it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of a slimy feeling.
And buddy,
you're saying trail cameras are legal on private? Oh, so if you got a big ranch.
They are legal on private now, where they weren't before. They can't use the transmitting, but they can use regular trail camera for the ADA hunting.
But there's a ton of deer and elk hunters that are not all right with how this went through,
Yeah.
They don't even like lions,
Yeah.
But there's a ton of sportsmen, and any sportsman in my mind, me and Cody's talked about, they should be upset about that. We got all these fishing game guys hired and stuff that are professionals, and then we can just go over their head and not run any of the wildlife.
Yeah.
That's one of the biggest things is the legislators making the decision removes any input from the public, but also from the biologists. Any of the science behind any of the decisions they don't take the input of that, and that's not the way we should make wildlife management rules.
Yeah. Yeah, it's actually a really dynamic. It's interesting what you guys are talking about, because that's
what should scare all sportsmen. If they could do it with lions, they could do it.
Well, that's exactly how they took it from Washington. The reason Oregon and Washington, I can't use my dogs in that is because they did a ballot box. They did through the ballot, so it was a vote. But it's the same thing. It's a political process that they're not separating the science of wildlife management with the politics of how people feel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's like so basically in a nutshell, if I'm understanding what you guys are saying is you want the wildlife managing the science, the biologist.
Absolutely.
Yep.
It's not a perfect system, I promise you that, because up in Washington, I'm like, man, there's some biologists up there that I'm like, we don't want them.
That's where it's good that Utah's got the public process to weigh in on the recommendations based off the science.
Yeah.
And then if it goes through, then every interest group's kind of got some input, and we can come to an agreement, a happy medium somewhere in the middle. If we start doing legislation, it's just big swings one way or another, and hound hunting's the low-hanging fruit. It always has been. It's the first to be attacked, and the rest will be next.
No, 100%. Like I said, it's just interesting listening from you guys on this process that you're fighting. You're not fighting the antis, but you easily could be fighting the antis.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be.
This could open a big door for that.
You guys are kind of in the middle right now. It's like, okay, you're fighting against the right and hoping the left doesn't come in and try to bite you in the back end and swallow up the middle. Like that, it's a really dangerous situation that you guys are in.
Well, we have to be careful, because 6 months ago we were fighting the other direction with our bears. I'm wanting to limit our ability and our management on bears. They're wanting to reduce pack size, season dates,
right?
Units, non-resident permits. I mean, so we're fighting both directions and just wanting to keep the ability with science. And
so what started that, or can you say?
Utah's got a couple units. One in particular that's kind of a hot spot. That's there's a lot of anti-hunters of all sorts there,
right?
That they kind of pushed through their county legislation and stuff, and really pushed to try to limit our bear hunting. And luckily we had in the past previous years made some changes that had already pretty well solved those problems. But they tried to bring up old stories, old news, to try to limit us more.
Yeah.
But luckily we had proof of that we'd taken actions to resolve the problems, and that stood up against, the antis trying to take away our ability.
Yeah. So before we end, on this lion thing, because I was thinking, what is it that you guys need people to do? We need to make really clear. So
it went through the process. I mean, none of us even knew about it until after it had passed the House and the Senate. Mm-hmm. So really our only hope now is that you can contact our Governor Cox here in Utah, and he could possibly veto the bill. So that's what we've been pushing everybody to call in and kind of voice their opinions on how the process works and everything.
Does anybody have the number?
Cody, we can pull it up real quick. Maybe Corey's been
so basically blowing up the governor's office and phone right now.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean we've had a ton of support, and I mean I know Corey's been involved in anybody, and Cody, and we've all been getting. I mean, I feel like I've been on the phone for the last week and a half nonstop with people calling and all sorts of people. It ain't just it's cattle guys that don't agree with it. So I think we've made a big splash in that department. So I think we just got to keep on top of it.
Have you heard anything back from the governor yet?
We've Corey, have you heard anything right from the governor?
Just from guys in his office.
We have a guy that's right under him that we've all been able to talk to, and he's really good. And
he's saying that there's a lot of opinions on both sides of it. A lot of calls coming in on both sides, which is, kind of to our point. Let's run this through a public process. If everybody has an opinion on it, let's run it through the public process. Let's involve the experts and our state biologists.
Yeah, have an open discussion about it.
Put some data behind it.
Let's talk about it rather than just run it through.
And then we can tackle all the issues separately. We don't have to put trail cams in with lions and with CWMU and with land purchasing. I mean, there's so many different interest groups that they might be in favor of the bill for one reason, so they're going to call in and say, "Oh yeah, pass this." Well, that's neglecting the other.
So how would lions be managed after this bill?
I mean, they'd be lesser than a cottontail rabbit, pretty much.
Really?
Yeah.
So you just got to have a hunting license.
When I asked the division what animal it would be equivalent to, with no seasons, and I mean basically you couldn't hunt them at night would be the only restriction. And they compared that to a striped skunk.
Really? So why wouldn't you be able to hunt them at night?
No, you would not. If they would have completely dropped the all protection, where you didn't need a fishing license for them, like a coyote, then you could hunt them at night. But that's about the only other difference from needing a fishing license.
But it's not. It wouldn't be classified as a game animal or
small game.
But I mean, they haven't talked about limit numbers, how many one guy can take or whatever. But I guess it would still have to go through the wildlife racks to make some decisions there, wouldn't it?
Talking to the DWR representative that works in the Capitol, he thinks, and he's talked with some of the attorneys, he thinks that the Wildlife Board would still be able to hopefully vote on what type of traps, females and kittens, that sort of thing. And if they did that, he thinks that we would have to have an emergency board meeting before May 3rd. But this is all speculation at this point. Until it is signed or vetoed, then there won't be a hard plan set.
When does the governor have time? I mean, when's the end of the session?
I believe you guys might know, but it's something somewhere around the 22nd. If he doesn't sign it, just goes into law.
That sounds right.
Oh, really? So he has to take
the governor's
action,
office,
or else so if he doesn't veto it, then it goes into law.
Yeah, if he just lets it slide by and doesn't take any action, then it'll be enacted.
They told us that he'd probably have a chance to look at this particular bill next week sometime.
Yeah. So we're going to get a number so we can have as many people as we can start calling. And where can they follow you guys on Facebook? You guys get Utah
Houndsmen Association.
Facebook and Instagram.
Yep. So let's make sure I know I've seen your guys' post on that, but the phone numbers, and I mean, basically this is important for everybody, not just Utah
for sure.
folks. I mean, if we can get everybody to call in and we're losing the battle so many different places that this is just. My mind's trying to reel around the fact because it's so opposite from Washington. Like in Washington, we got the biologists who are being partisan. You know what I mean? Like I know some of the cougar biologists and stuff like that we're dealing with in Washington. They're kind of doing the exact opposite. They're kind of more being a protective mode, and they're not following the science.
Well, and that's one thing that concerns some of us is if this goes through, this removes any evidence of science in our management, and then we're going to be fighting the opposite battle without any science to back up the way we're managing.
If you have no management?
When the antis come and say, prove to us that you're doing this for the biology of the animal, and we can't prove it, that's scary.
Yeah, I could see certain groups coming in and suing over this.
Oh, absolutely.
To be honest with you, if there's a couple of groups that I would think would probably do something like that they would be like, oh, that you're such a weird situation. It's like, and it just goes to show that everybody talks about all we care about is just killing cougars. Oh, just hound guys. All they care about is killing. It's like, no, in Oregon, we're the ones that put the cougar. Houndsmen are the folks that put the cougar on the game and identified them as a game animal. And I'm sure that's probably true.
And I think that's the case with any animal. Sportsmen, when there's value on an animal, sportsmen are the ones that protect the numbers and care and do the conservation work and the lobbying and everything for healthy populations. But we don't want more lions than we can handle. We want to find that predator-prey balance where we're not going to suppress the deer herd, but we still have some lions to chase.
Right.
And we have active studies in the state going on that are getting really close to finding what that number is. And this bill will kill any future research in the state.
It'll kill a lot of funding, I imagine, too, for lion studies.
Yeah, I mean, all of these studies are funded through the big game budget, and now going through the small games, that's a fraction of the budget they have. It just wouldn't fit in the program.
Well, and like Texas is fighting complete opposite. They're trying to make a lion a big game animal right now because they're getting so much heat.
Yeah.
So and we're doing the complete opposite. So
yeah, it's just so dynamic. Some of the different things that are happening, and this is
does speak to the importance of a hound association. Cody mentioned the bear fight we had a couple months back, and this one, and it seems like hound hunting or seasons or animals, whatever, if they're trying to cut tags or add tags, it seems like it's always on the chopping block, and you're constantly fighting, and it honestly seems like a losing battle sometimes. You wonder what the point is, but boy, can you imagine if there weren't hound associations, what this would look like? I mean, we'd be walked all over. It's bad now, but if there wasn't an organized group formed fighting for this, I can't imagine what the sport would look like, in every state.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I mean, it seems like, and all of us that do this, I'm a board member for OUSDA, so like I can feel your guys' pain. Like the amount of work and effort that a few people do behind the association. And it's not to say that it'd be awesome if more people stepped up. You guys got a good crew here in the morning setting up and all that. Not Corey.
Yeah.
Somebody's not here helping us set tables up.
Corey's done enough work this week,
we've
though.
kind of thrown Corey in front of the limelight.
Well, here's my name, but I can't tell what he is.
Well, you'll have to listen to the podcast. We're talking crap. But yeah, people coming to the dinner, spending money, there's a whole aspect of the Hound Association that makes a big difference, right? So there's the guys that are pushing the political side, making those connections. But then there's people that just come to the dinner and they can spend some money and help put some money in your guys' bank account so that you can fight different fights. This one's a hard one to fight. When it's on a legislator, it's not it's not a money fight. You know what I mean? Like
well, it'll turn into one. I mean, we'll have to get a lobbyist to try and get this amended.
Absolutely.
That'll cost a fortune. So, I mean, everybody's a spoke in the wheel, whether you're attending the banquet spending money or you're attending meetings. We're all just a spoke in the wheel trying to keep it moving around.
Absolutely. Yeah. And at this point, that's what I think you guys, I mean, I'm not on your board and I'm not telling you what to do or whatever, but at this point, I think spending a little bit of money at the legislative side to make sure that we have people listening on the floor to be like, hey, if this could have gotten caught on the first vote, you know what I mean, by a legislator that was in tune with everybody, that would be good. And it's hard. I mean, it is really hard to do and find those guys that you can trust. But yeah, like the biggest thing is if you can come support these guys, spend your money, get involved, sign up, help. There's not a lot of people signing up to be board members for these associations. No. It's normally who doesn't raise their hand. You know what I mean?
Well, houndsmen by nature, we want to be left alone. We want to go in the woods, take our dogs, and not deal with people. But if we don't start taking some action, we're not going to be able to do that. So
yeah, and that's 100%. Like it's easy to just grab a dog and go in the woods and be by yourself and be like, oh, screw it, I'm going to go do what I want to do. And there's guys that are tough guys that say that all the time. Like, well, if they do this, I'm just going to go do that. And the truth is, well, your kids aren't going to do that. Yeah. And your kids' kids aren't going to go do that. And so that's kind of a selfish way of thinking. You know what I mean? Like, we don't really think and solidify. We always want to make it better for our kids. Like, this is the time. These are the types of things to step up. So, Corey, is there anything else? This is a short one for what you guys need done. So the biggest thing is we're going to get a phone number, and we'll put this in the show notes. We're going to try and get this one launched out sooner than later. You said you got to the 22nd.
Yeah, but most likely next week sometime.
But it could be as early as Monday. So
yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So
one thing, buddy, I'd like to thank everybody. I mean, we've got the Colorado Hound Association coming over. Idaho sent an awesome link side. You guys came all the way down. We've got guys from New Mexico signed up. I mean, we're getting more support than we've ever seen, and we appreciate it. And we are getting our guts kicked in right now, and it's amazing how many hounds stepped up to help us. The donations were coming in this week. We couldn't update the social media post fast enough. It just these last minute donations, people seeing that we need it, and they're stepping up to the plate. So just want to thank everybody who's showing up and all the donors and all of the support that we're getting this year.
Yeah, I 100%. Yes. And there's something I want to talk to you guys off the air. So remind me of a topic that I was slated in my board meeting with LUSDA to talk to you guys about. I'm glad you mentioned that, because that kind of triggered. I'm by nature a forgetful person, so I had already forgotten. But you said something there that I was like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to talk to you about something. Eastern Idaho, they've been really good. Like what I can say is, like, even in Oregon, we had I won't say a scare or whatever, but we had a legislator drop a bill. It was a bad bill. I'm not going to mention it by name because I think we pretty much got it handled, and we don't want to publicize the issue. But we just seen a ton of support from Idaho, and I mean everybody. It's so good to see these associations starting to build back up, because a couple of years ago they were, I think a lot of them were pretty weak. I mean, back when we started coming to these, I mean, like I said, you guys were a lot smaller. I know OSDA was, small. I've hit a couple of them, and I think they go through ups and lows, and I think we're kind of on a rising tide, and that's a really good feeling. You know what I mean? I know it energizes. The energy out of something like that helps build too. You know what I mean? Like I always tell guys in Oregon, when you're losing, boy, the morale goes down, everything goes down. And so the fact that we can start engaging and getting people engaged, the morale goes up, and that's just a big boost for things. So I think it's really good.
Yeah, I agree. I think these hard times bring everybody closer together.
Yeah,
and show the importance to unite. It's easy to not get along with each other and have your honey holes you don't want invaded by other houndsmen, and it seems like there's a lot of jealousy in the sport. But when you have hard times like this, it really shows that it is a tight knit community, and we are there for each other. Whether we've had bad times with each other in the past or not, when it comes down to it, we're all fighting the same fight.
Yeah. How far are people coming for Utah? Like, where would you say the core of your guys' group is?
Man, we're spread.
Are you still good on cell coverage, you think, or I know we've been going about 30 minutes before.
I think just the people on this phone call are probably at least 200 miles each apart from each other.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we're pretty spread out all through the state. I mean, northern Utah has a ton, southern Utah, and all through the middle has a bunch of dog guys. So it's
it's all over. So where's the majority of your guys' hunting? As far as, is it like the Rockies, or I mean, what mountain ranges? Not giving away honey holes, but everybody looks at me like, stop talking about names.
northern Utah, huh, Corey? That's the hot spot.
Right now, it seems like it. No, it's all, they're spread out throughout the state. We have anywhere there's a mountain range, you'll find a houndsman looking for a lion track.
We're really lucky. We got a ton of good hunting in Utah.
So the big mountains, like by Salt Lake, right? And I grew up. I was born in Colorado Springs, so I grew up on the other side of those Rockies.
Yep.
And I wasn't a houndsman when I was in Colorado. You know what I mean? So like, when I look at the mountains, I look at them way differently than I used to. With dogs, I'm like, holy shit, that's going to be a bitch. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to hunt there. I don't want to hunt there. But what is it behind those mountains that, your road systems open up? Or, I mean, explain that. Because I'm driving through, I'm looking at that going, because like I said, now I drive into spots and I'm like I was mentioning to somebody, I was like, dude, you guys got like 14 to 16 foot trees. I mean, that's got to be intense. You know what I mean? Like I was looking at the hillside and I'm thinking, those are bushes. You know what I mean? I looked at it closer. I'm like, there's a cow next to that bush, and the cows.
It's, northern Utah mountains they're just a few roads in the canyons, huh? And then they're pretty much straight up and down. And then kind of when you get down more to where me and Corey live, or me and Cody, we kind of just got more rolling type mountains. It's not as up as down as the Wasatch Front, like where you're talking.
Right.
So up there, it's pretty much just a few roads, and Corey can hit on that better than us. But
are your roads in the bottoms or the tops, or what?
There's a lot. It's more. I mean, there's a few roads, but we have so many houndsmen around here. It's a lot easier for me to hike or ride a mule to look for a track. I try to stay off the roads, and I do think probably cutting roads looking for tracks is the most popular way to do it. But as our lions start getting decimated, you're going to see guys figuring out that they're going to have to hike or ride a horse or dirt bike or something up these trails that nobody else is hitting to find one.
Okay. Yeah. So your road systems are not, I mean, looking at them, you got like roads in maybe the bottoms of the canyons and stuff like that? Or?
Yeah, there's not many, but they go up the bottom, and there's one or two little side roads in some of the canyons up my way. But for the most part, if you don't cut it on the main road, you're going to have to hike and find a track.
Okay. And the rolling hills.
But there's areas that are great. I mean, you can cut roads for days.
Yeah, we have some units that are just loaded with roads, and some that are pretty roadless. So we got a pretty good.
Yeah, there's a little bit of everything in Utah. from your alpine and your high desert stuff to low desert to wide open to.
Pretty much anywhere in the state within a half an hour drive, you could be hunting in cedar trees or cliffs or big tall pines. We have a pretty big variety of terrain, and it's all kind of intertwines between each other throughout the state.
Yeah. Anybody got a good story?
Hunter has good stories.
No, not me. Not me. Cody has some good stories.
No,
Nobody wants to talk about a good story. Like, bad.
I think Hunter's the man to talk to. I mean, 4 generations.
I know.
You can't hardly talk about lion hunting or dry ground lion hunting or hunting off mules without the Meekum family.
How do you hunt?
We do occasionally cut roads, but we're mainly off mules or horses.
Then you got a
free casting,
outfitting, or
yeah. My dad's my grandpa started it, and then my dad took it over, and now I'm involved in it.
Mostly, do you do all of outfitting? Or
we do deer, elk, lions, bears.
What's your favorite?
Lion, dry ground lion hunting's would be my favorite. Yeah, I love hunting deer and elk as much as anybody, and so does Cody. But I think at the end of the day, anything with the dogs probably tops that.
How old are you?
I'm 26.
And when did you've been in dogs for?
Yeah, ever since I can remember. Yep.
What's that like growing up? So I've known some, and I'm not going to throw names or whatever, but say I wasn't a hound guy, you know what I mean? So when I got into dogs, I was 21. I had gone through my adolescence, and nobody that no family before me had dogs.
Yeah.
Is it kind of challenging? Is there like a pressure there for you to feel like there's a name? You know what I mean? Like, and to get on your own. You know what I mean? Like,
for sure. Yeah. It's kind of funny. I grew up. My uncle and my dad and my grandpa and my great grandpa. I mean, they all did it, and my dad and uncle were involved in some of the biggest lion studies in the world, and. So I grew up, and I mean, just going out and catching lions in any conditions with them. And then I turned 18 and kind of went on my own, and I figured I was going to be I figured I was one of the best.
That's what I'm getting at. It's like you watch somebody do it so easily.
Oh, yeah, and I found out real quick. I hunted the whole winter by myself, and I caught 2 lions. And it was pretty humbling. But, it's I don't know, somebody that probably gets to it by themselves and has to train all their dogs and stuff, it's a little different.
Well, I had a guy, and I took him out this year, and different, but he's brand new, and I'm like, dude, it's not easy. Like you go with somebody, and somebody makes it look easy. You know what I mean? And you go catch a cat or whatever. I'm like, that's because that guy's been doing it for a long time, and all the things he doesn't say. You know what I mean? Those are what makes him successful.
And
sometimes.
I wish I could go back in time and pay more attention and I could have been way more ahead than I am now,
Right.
Because I grew up hunting with, in my opinion, 2 of the best to ever do it in this country anyways. And, so yeah, I mean, for anybody that's getting into it, I mean, learn as much as you can. And I mean,
it's hard to do
I took
when
it for
you're
granted.
When you're 16, 15.
Yeah, I figured it was easy.
my boy now, he's like, we'll be working on something. He's like, I know. And I'm like, okay, if I'm just gonna go over here and do my own thing. Like, go figure your shit out. I don't need to tell you anymore. But no, I was curious because, like I said, it seems like, and it's good to see like that kind of aligns with what I've thought, and like I said, I didn't go through it myself. But I've watched a couple people that really struggled with that, where their grandpa is just known by everybody. You know what I mean? It's like famous. You know what I mean? Like, and they're just a kid. You know what I mean? And sometimes it's like that name isn't just like a crown that just hands to the next one and be like, oh yeah, with the dog. The dogs don't give a shit. The dogs don't respect you just because you got the name. You know what I mean? Like, you got to earn it in this sport a little bit.
Oh heck yeah.
It makes you appreciate it more, no matter whether you're starting brand new or you're the family legacy name. If you don't go through the hard stuff, you won't appreciate it, and that's the best thing about hound hunting is when you think you know, you don't.
Yep, that's exactly right. There's no guarantees of anything, is there?
No.
Well, they were saying, I was talking with Garmin one time, and they go, buddy, do you know the hardest customer that we have? And I'm thinking, it's the hound guy. Like, no, it's the dog. Because the dog don't give a shit. The dog don't care.
Yep.
They're just going to do what they're going to do, and to earn the respect of the dog, you really gotta earn it. You don't just, even if you took a well trained dog, if that dog doesn't respect you, you're not gonna. You may go catch a lion because the dog catches the lion, but you're not going to be successful generationally.
Yep.
So. That reminds me of a story when I was first starting out. I just local classifieds the biggest piles of junk you could ever imagine. I bought 5 pups all at once, not knowing a soul in hounds and anything about it. I've been around bird dogs my whole life, but not hounds. So I bought 5 junk pups and couldn't catch anything. So I called a big time outfitter in Utah, and he actually was dumb enough to lend me 3 or 4 dogs. And where I live, I can walk right out my front door and be looking for a lion within 10 minutes. So I had 2 shot collars and maybe 4 telemetry collars. I took this big swarm of pups with these 3 finished dogs and walked to the top of my street. The neighbor had a bunch of peacocks and turkeys and just birds, and they killed every one of those starting out. And then I finally got them all beat off the neighbor's birds and got across the track under the mountain, and they took off again. My pup started the race, and those other dogs went. I shit, it's got to be good if those old dogs are going. And I was running, think I was hauling ass to a lion tree, and there were some coyote hunters there, and they said, "Are those your dogs?" And, yeah, they're trailing a lion. And they said, "No, they're running deer." That's pretty humbling for me. And that just goes to your point. No matter how good a dog you have, if the handler doesn't know what he's doing, it doesn't mean anything.
You pull up there and you go, "Those your dogs? They have peacocks all over them." Yeah, peacock here. Yeah, that was them.
Yeah, exactly.
That's funny. Yeah, it's a humbling experience. Like I said, I still think I'm new in it, you know. And when I look around, I'm like, oh man, I'm one of the old guys now. You know what I mean? Like, it happens quick, but it's a good challenge because there's always something new and there's always something different. And the pack dynamic, everything's always changing. You know what I mean? The dogs are changing. Like right now, I'm getting to where my dogs are getting older, and I'm. Last year I was on top of the world. And now I'm watching the downcline, and I'm like, crap, next year's going to hurt. I mean, I'm not looking forward to next year.
It seems like it can flip overnight from being right on top to all of a sudden you're starting over. Or,
just when they get good, they get old, don't they?
Yeah.
And that's because I haven't grabbed a pup for a couple years, just because I haven't been able to hunt as much as I've wanted to. You know, I started this job so I have more time to hunt, and it's not exactly working out like that. But I gotten comfortable with those 3 old dogs, and 4 old dogs now. And having a nice rock solid pack of 4 that you can just do whatever. But man, they're getting older. And they're getting older, and I'm like watching them, and I'm like, they probably should have caught that one. You know what I mean? Like, I think we would have caught that one last year. You know what I mean? They would have been in shape or whatever. So it's always interesting. How many dogs do you have?
I have 12.
You got 12?
Yeah.
How about
that? Myself as well, 12.
Right.
I've got 8.
8. So what is it about that number that you like? Dry ground, I'm assuming?
Yeah, I like that just because I can rotate. I like to rotate every other day. And then a lot of our bear hunting, I mean, we need a few more dogs, to ship out. And when a bear crosses the road or something and dogs are hung up in ledgers or something, to ship behind them,
Yeah.
But I think it's just a good number. You can rotate them, and I hunt 8 at a time mainly.
And I probably don't get as many days in the field as Hunter does, but I try to hunt everything I've got every day I hunt.
Yeah.
But you've always got dogs they're over the hill, but you can't leave them at home. They've earned that right, and you better have a couple young dogs coming up, or you're going to hit a wall.
Oh yeah.
So, and some of the places, especially for bear, for me, I better send everything I need right from the start, because they're not going to cross the road. There's not a road to cross. So
yeah, some of the I think Wisconsin, I don't know about Michigan or whatever, but I have had some buddies that went over there, and they talk about where they can feed dogs in. And it's like, no,
some of these running bears, man, I mean, they get you so strung out that, I mean, you have 3 or 4 fresh dogs in your box, and next time they cross the road and you ship them right behind them, it makes a big difference,
Yeah, but you don't have that opportunity sometimes.
And especially Code's country, he's got, I mean, just huge canyons with roads way spaced out.
I mean, I can start a bear and cross the road a quarter mile at a time for 15 miles, and then all of a sudden we hit a 20-mile stretch that there's not a road.
Yeah.
So it could be anything in between.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I just dump everything at the beginning. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I cat hunt because.
And you're mainly bobcats, or you do a lot of lions too?
Well, bobcats.
So and that's, I mean, I've had way better luck with 3-4 dogs, than shipping 8. It seems like they just.
Yeah. There's times where I like in the snow and stuff, because I've been hunting up in the snow on snowmobiles, mostly because it seems like if I hunt out of a truck, I hunt below the snow and the dogs go up into the snow, and then I'm like 4 chains and it's a pain in the ass. And so I'm like, yeah. So this year I've been hunting in the snow, and then the dogs run out of the snow. But it's easier to run a snowmobile on the gravel than it is to run a truck up across the snow berm. So that's what I've been doing the last couple years, and it's been easier for me access wise, because of the fires and stuff we've had up there. So I've gotten some better situations. But the same thing is like when I dump loose, I turn my 4 dogs or whatever that I have with me. It's like, that's it. I don't have a ton of options. Sometimes I can feed in once in a while, but not too often for me. Cool. Anything else you want to talk about? We're going to wrap it up here, but we got some good.
No, I think we're pretty good. Just we appreciate you guys.
Yeah,
W is, I
been
mean,
huge.
It's the best in the business, and we no Hound Association could do what they do without DU's support.
Oh,
so.
I'm getting all red now.
But
it's true.
We
It's
can
true.
edit this part out. I'm like, anyways, the truth is we wouldn't be what we are without the associations, the houndsmen, the customers. Like, it really is. It's humbling for me. Like me making the circuit and getting back out. I got to Michigan last weekend. We're gonna do Utah, and I got Wisconsin. I need to get back out to California. I mean, there's a bunch of different associations. Jason's hitting Idaho this week. Last year, me and the family got to go to Eastern Idaho, and so it's just humbling to see. Like, not in a million years would I have thought that's what I was going to do. When I was working at Intel, I was like, that was it. It's easy when it's about your passion, when it's about dogs. I mean, it's kind of like you with your guiding. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's easy to make those connections and have a good time. You meet customers if you're enjoying this and this dogs. So, man, it's not hard. I don't deserve that much credit. Corey, did we lose you?
No, I'm here.
All right, we're wrapping up. You got anything you want to follow up with?
No, just thank you, buddy. I sure appreciate you coming down and appreciate you doing this podcast for us to kind of get the word out on the house bill and talk dogs with us.
Yeah, absolutely, man. We'll cut it up here. You guys got some more raffle tables to get ready, and then it's going to get a bit crazy.
Yep.
We'll have to do another one. We can do
I'm
these over the
I'm
phone.
on my way.
Yeah, you'll be here by dinner.
Yeah.
You better be here by your
Cody's probably
speech.
Cursing me for not having the rack surfers apparel. I'm never in.
Awesome. All right, we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, thanks. Yeah.